we? Does that help you, Leo?
So no, it doesn't. So let me reiterate the question I've been asking for an hour now. That still has not been answered. What standard do you use to determine good versus bad mutations?
I
The
just
same
answered
standard that evolutionary population geneticists look.
This
okay?
is not
If you
answering my
look to a
question.
mutation,
What standard do you use for determining good versus bad mutations?
Can I answer? Can I?
No, I'm not asking you. I don't want an answer from a person I'm not asking the question to. No offense. Donny, what standard do you use to determine good versus bad mutations?
Leo, you got a lot of studying to do. The same standard, the same methodology that evolutionary scientists.
And what is that standard?
Listen,
what is that standard?
Look at
No. What is that standard?
If we
Leo, why won't you ask me that question?
Leo,
what is that standard?
Hey, stop! Hey,
yeah, you're getting so upset.
Notice.
Leo, why won't you ask me that question?
Bubblegum, shut up. Bubblegum, shut up, because you give the wrong answers half the time with your ridiculous polytheistic garbage and your fixity.
Yes, because my position can answer his question.
No, Bubblegum, your answer is wrong. You denied that a mutation is a random change in the sequence of a nucleotide.
No, mutations are all errors. All mutations are errors from my position.
But listen,
I can answer his question.
No, the question is not black and white, as in, yes or no. We have to look to the specimen, look to the genotype, see what mutation it is. Notice this with the mammoth.
There's a reason Leo can't ask me that question.
Okay, listen. if they're riddled with deletions, okay, or it's reductive in the sense that we see a broken protein or a broken gene due to its reductive, or we look to Lenski's E. coli bacteria and we can see that it's a loss of genetic functionality. This is all deleterious. That's our standard. We can tell.
How do you determine something's deleterious? You're just being circular.
It's not circular. Okay.
So then what standard do you use to determine a good mutation from a bad mutation?
It's the same. If you're looking at it, let's say,
and you say it's the same standard as evolutionary biologists, and what is that standard?
A typographical error.
I'm ignorant, Donny. You know more than me. What is that standard?
I don't think you understand your own question.
I don't. What is that standard? What is that standard?
Listen, if a mutation occurs,
you don't
in
have
the
an
nucleotide
answer,
sequence
do you?
of the DNA, we are going to look to the mutation and determine, is this a deletion? Is this a substitution? Is this an inversion?
What determines if those are good or bad?
We can tell if it's good or bad because if it's a deletion mutation that leads to a disease, then we know that that's bad.
What do you? So but how do you determine that something is good or bad?
Okay, you know what? Since you're not accepting the answer, how did these scientists determine that these mutations in the genome of mammoths were bad? Answer that.
I'm going to be honest with you because I'm honest with my answers. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, you don't know, but they say
I'm asking you, and you're not telling me.
I am telling you, if a mutation, there's not just one kind of mutation. There's inversion mutations.
I never denied this.
Okay, so we look to the mutation, okay, and we see what the result is. We can.
What standard do you judge it against to determine that a mutation is good or bad?
Okay, if 100 mutations, I accumulate 100 from my parents. Those mutations are occurring in places where there were no mutations. So those are essentially errors that we can understand are defects when we compare to the previous generation. I can compare
by error. Do you mean deviation?
And see where those errors have accumulated.
By error, do you mean deviation?
A deviation.
Okay.
From, let's say, my parents' genome.
Yeah. Awesome. So how do you determine if that's good or bad?
Okay, the same way that evolutionary scientists do.
And how do they do it?
Okay, they look. If it's a deletion, it leads to a disease. It's a deviation.
Well, but some deletions don't lead to disease. Some deletions.
I'm not playing your semantics. Okay.
Oh, I'm not asking semantics. I like literally. I'm sorry, Donny. You can't say that something is good or bad if you don't have a standard against which you're judging that. Man, I'm just asking you about your own position. And you're not answering me. You're not telling me your standard. No, you haven't.
The only one
not
answering
is, well, it's the same that evolutionary biologists use. But then when I ask you what that is, you don't give an answer. Because I don't think you know.
Yes. I don't think you understand the fact that we can actually compare the genetics of, let's say, myself and my parents.
I never denied this.
Okay. Well, we can see if it's been deletions, point mutations.
But you're assuming deletions are intrinsically bad, and then I'm asking you, how do you determine?
Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm gonna read from cancer.gov. Deleterious mutation. Quote,
By the way, it's not me that can't listen.
a genetic alteration that increases an individual's susceptibility or predisposition to a certain disease or disorder. When such a variant or mutation is inherited, development of symptoms is more likely but not certain. Also called disease-causing mutation, pathogenic variant, predisposing mutation, and susceptibility gene mutation. End quote. Continue.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. That's just like a quote.
That was
bro in the
clear
context,
as-
dude.
oh
You've
my
been wanting to know how something is deemed a negative deleterious mutation, correct?
Well, not particularly. I'm wanting to know what the standard. Do you want me to clarify what my position is or not?
Okay. So did the other than playing like myopic semantic games, was there anything about that what I just read that was not understood by you?
Yeah.
Okay, what?
The whole thing. I don't understand how it's a standard for determining good versus bad mutations.
Okay, so
are broken proteins good or bad?
Hang on. Okay, what about that did not show? Okay, would you agree or disagree that the opposite of the things that were described in that definition would probably be deemed beneficial, or at a minimum neutral?
Wait, would be deemed beneficial?
Okay. If the things that are considered deleterious result in disease or disorders, then things that do not result in that would at a minimum be neutral or beneficial, correct?
Well, sure, but that seems to assume that deleterious means intrinsically bad, and then I'm just wondering what standard.
Okay, so what about all the things that I just read, which is the definition of deleterious mutation, were positive?
I have no. I didn't hear any such terminology, to be completely honest.
Okay, so there was nothing positive about
or negative. I didn't hear any of that terminology.
I'm going to read it again, and audience, please pay close attention. Make sure let me know if I stutter or if somehow this does not make sense to you. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Deleterious mutation, quote, a genetic alteration that increases an individual's susceptibility or predisposition to a certain disease or disorder. When such a variant or mutation is inherited, development of symptoms is more likely but not certain. Also called disease-causing mutation, pathogenic variant, predisposing mutation, and susceptibility gene mutation.
And what was the term that this defines again?
Deleterious mutation.
Okay, and what is the point being made here?
You were asking that whole question. That was the whole point of your question, wasn't it?
I'm not asking you that question.
Oh my god,
Leo, you have an IQ way above this. Please stop playing dumb.
I'm not playing dumb. I don't know why
you were asking this question.
Leo, you are
using ambiguous language, and I don't understand what your point is. Why won't you just clarify?
There is nothing ambiguous about what I just read. Nothing ambiguous.
Well, to me, there is. Are you going to be? I already expressed it. What is the point of you sharing this stuff? Okay, so you define deleterious. You define deleterious mutation. Great. But you didn't give me a standard for determining that versus something else.
The definition I've read twice now literally is explaining what would be classified as such.
Yes.
Do I need to read it a third time?
That's not what I'm asking, though.
Yes, it is.
No,
yes,
it's not.
It is.
It's literally what you asked.
Would you like me to clarify what it is that I'm asking?
Go ahead and clarify.
I am not asking for a definition of either deleterious or beneficial. I am asking for a standard which determines the difference between the two.
Okay.
You gave me a definition of deleterious. You did not give me a standard for differentiating between the two.
Okay, let me reiterate my answer again, or part of the answer. Okay, the standard will be the precursor to whatever mutation it was. So let's say...
What does that mean? What do you mean by precursor?
You don't know what precursor means? Okay,
well,
so
not in this particular context.
Okay, I'm going to explain. Let's say an individual experiences a point mutation rather than a deletion or an inversion or something like that. Okay, so now we have a mutation that is affecting one or even a few nucleotides. Let's say we have a genetic sequence. Okay, so we have an individual who gets hit with a point mutation, and so it affects one nucleotide. Well, the standard is the precursor to that nucleotide that was hit with the point mutation. So the alteration in that nucleotide, okay, that is deviated from the precursor to that nucleotide that was unaffected by the point mutation, there's your standard.
So your just standard is a change.
Yeah, but that change, as John was pointing out, leaves that individual more susceptible to what?
Only in the instance that it's deleterious, right?
Okay. I'm going to read a different definition. I'm going to read a different definition. A deleterious mutation is one in which the protein product of a gene is not produced, is produced and does not function, or is produced and interferes with normal function. I mean,
how are we determining what function is here?
What the?
If it leaves the organism functionally compromised as compared to before it got hit with the mutation, then I think we can agree it's harmful.
Okay, Leo, if we can determine what the pre-existing function is based on sequence analysis, which we do all the freaking time, and we know prior to this, change that this is the function, and then you swap it for something else, and then it doesn't work anymore. I mean, I don't know how much more, how difficult is this to comprehend, Leo?
I'm gonna rage quit. I'm gonna rage quit.
It's just fine, but I mean, function is gonna be to me, function is just a normative term. So
I want to hear Bubblegum's response. Go ahead, Bubblegum.
He rage quit.
Oh. Bubblegum and his
What happens when people don't have
hey, listen, if Bubblegum is rage quit, we know things are in full scale meltdown. If Bubblegum is rage quitting, that's a rarity for him.
So, for example, Leo, take sickle cell anemia. It's the result of just a single point mutation. Okay, so it's an alteration of just a single nucleotide, and it actually results in disease. So that alteration from, let's say, the precursor, the nucleotide before it was hit with that point mutation that caused sickle cell anemia, is that deleterious? Is that bad? Is that harmful? Is this a good thing?
It depends, because it was particularly SCD, sickle cell disease, is caused by a mutation in both copies of the HBB gene. But if you have just one, you'll have actually what is effectively an immunity to malaria, I believe. And I think Mark mentioned this earlier. So there are instances where you can consider it beneficial, and then there are instances where you can consider it detrimental. But again, considering something beneficial or detrimental is going to depend on the standard against which you're using to measure those.
What happens when you become homozygous at that site and all you have is the defective copy? Then what?
I hope that we can manage that.
Well, would that be bad or good?
Well, I mean, I think that with respect to the standard of how humans live today and how our society is today, that largely we would see it as a negative. But see, unlike you, I can actually provide a standard there.
What about a point mutation that causes something like Huntington's disease? If you're familiar with that, it's a horrible condition, horrible disease. That deviation from...
Horrible in what sense? What does it do?
Really, well, if you've never heard of Huntington's disease,
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it does.
It's very similar to ALS. It breaks down your... I think it's neurodegenerative. So are you familiar with ALS?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, it's very similar to that. So I believe that's what...
So it would cause massive amounts of physical pain.
What's that?
So it would cause massive amounts of physical pain and discomfort.
Pain, your body shuts down.
Things humans would typically say is something that one not endure, correct?
I would say it's not standard. It's
okay.
Not...
So that's the standard we would use then for saying that's a bad thing. All right. Yeah, I agree.
Subscribe.